some increase. I know that you guys have already been working, so we're going to have a full report on line items and where some reductions have already taken place. Is there any scenario of where we might be in regards to some savings, or is this is where we started off with these numbers, or this is what you guys worked?
Yeah, no, this is the starting point, and we're going to go over different options as we discuss when we get into closed session, because some of them would include personnel, and that's something that's a closed session item. Any questions from the public?
All right.
Yeah,
Councilman Hayes.
Right. All right, I'm new at this, so, bear with me, okay? How did we get to 1.75 million from last year?
Okay, I just broke that down. There's the amount above the cap, 767,499. The 2% cap increase, which is 299,893. The cap bank, which is 193,941. Exclusions, which is $490,761, and then there's a net of 54,678. So instead of 1.75, it's 1.7.
Councilman, are you asking what's the reasoning behind the increase? In other words, why are we increasing?
Oh, okay, so in other words, these figures are the reason why it's 1.7, okay. I didn't understand that part.
Sure.
All right, okay. Cool. Till we run a bigger cake.
Do me a favor, Ken, and I know that you explain everything very well, and since Councilman Hayes is new and, saying that, maybe you could explain to him the things that we have no control over, the pension, the insurance, things
Yeah,
like that.
so that amount, that's a very good point. The exclusions are about $500,000, so that's the $490,761. That's literally stuff that's out of our hands. So increase in pensions, increase in any sort of other related benefits, increase in health insurance, which never goes down, debt service. So that whole amount, which is outside of the cap, is about $500,000.
Okay.
On page 4.
Yeah, I hope you got, it's easy if I go by that. All right, so that we have no control over. All right, but you said that's not in that 2% cap?
Exactly.
So that's an exclusion from that 2%.
Right, so that's before you get
cap.
the 2% cap.
Okay.
That's why, so for everyone's edification, so we all understand, when we speak of a 2% cap, that doesn't mean you take last year, you increase it by 2%, and that's where we're at.
Right,
because there's an amount between there, so that's the cap bank and the exclusion. So we actually have $685,000 between last year and the cap. Then 300 for the cap, then 767,499 of increase above the cap. So that's the thing. So just so everyone understands, if we go from 2% to 1%, you're still talking about $900,000 that you'd have to cut to get to zero. So the concept of getting to 1% is still not significant in the grand scheme of things. It's what you would call a Pyrrhic victory.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the way that we looked at it as a finance committee is what does it take to do the absolute minimum, and that's to get to the 2%, not including the exclusions. What is that number? And then if we want to give the taxpayers further relief, what do we have to do between 0% and 2%?
Have you gotten to the 2%?
Oh no. That's part of the reason why I wanted to call this meeting, so we could have that discussion and figure out how we're going to get there.
And I know I had asked you this last week, and I'll ask you again. Do you have any revisions, or this is just the original workbook that was handed to you? And that's
So this is the status of the original.
Okay.
So we're going to have to, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about different options, one of which is going to include staffing, so that would be a closed session item. We basically need to understand as a finance committee what each individual's perspective is, because if we come forth with a budget that the rest of the council doesn't support, then we're kind of wasting people's time.
You've already put together some scenarios, obviously, the staffing is one of them, but you have other parts of the budget that you've looked at and you're ready to make certain adjustments. So we're probably a little closer to that number.
Yeah, yeah,
than-
yeah, but we're still not at it, and that's the thing, so, basically, the other thing to be mindful of is, we were self-examining the past several years, this year, we're under state examination, so whereas the past several years, our budget's been adopted in, July, August, we've had all these deliberations and meetings, this year it has to be adopted by May 1st. So that's significantly faster and much more of a time crunch.
If we stayed, Councilman,
Yes.
at the 767 height,
Mhm.
it's 382 per household, right?
No, 382 was the average
the one
assessed
six.
value per household last year. Now the average assessed value is 307,000, so the average increase per household, it's a very similar number, it's $308 per
$308.
household, yeah.
And that's without,
Yeah, it's
Going.
just, yeah, but
Yeah.
we
Obviously,
legally
if you
couldn't,
have
we
to
legally
assess
couldn't
more,
do that,
yeah.
yeah.
Is that the same rate per hundred of value?
Rate
No.
goes way up.
No,
the
no.
tax rate goes up.
Yeah.
Tax rate goes up though?
Yeah.
If you have to
So we-
assess for any
you-
more than that, your price.
it's a long one. I just wonder, and I'm sure we all have gone through our books and stuff, the number we're looking to cut down is at 767,499.
That's
That'll
the
get us to
minimum.
the 2% cap.
Yes.
That'll get us to the 177 per household.
That would be 170 per household.
170 per household.
Correct. And then anything beyond that, we would obviously have to cut more. And it's approximately 170,000 per tax point. So the way to look at it is, for every $170,000 decrease in the budget that we take out, it's a decrease in taxes per household of $30.07, or $30.70. So, that's what you'd have to cut out to get that relief.
And that's, well, I said it before, we haven't, and that's not up yet either, it's the school board's part of it either to include into it.
Yeah, we're just talking our budget, what we have control over.
Well, but that, if you wanna look at things from the perspective of the taxpayer, you're absolutely right.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because
yeah.
what I'm looking at is, normally we've gone anywhere between 200 and 300 combined.
Yeah, total.
And I just don't wanna see ourselves go beyond it. I mean, we're not getting to flat.
Oh, there,
It's impossible. You said it was like 900 to get the 1% down. We have to work our way, and I'm sure you have gone through it, I've gone through it with the book.
Yeah.
If we can get below to this number, and a little bit lower to lessen it,
Yeah.
the 170.
I mean, it's a $15 million budget, so, just talking round numbers, $1.7 million versus $15 million, talking about a 12% increase roughly of the budget year over year. It's pretty significant. It's not logical with all the increases in there that you'd be able to just take that out and have nothing change from a service perspective or a quality perspective.
No, there's a lot to go through.
Yeah.
Every page I got in this book is
We'll
highlighted.
go through it.
So, that's it for me.
Can I just ask you a question? In
Sure.
the sheets that were supplied to us by Gary Vincent today, at the high number, we were at 296 according to him, you're up at 308 now? What's that differential from?
Yeah, I couldn't get to his number. If you look at the valuation for the tax points, it comes out to 169,073.52. You see that? That's the total value of all the houses in the town. So you would have to take that number, that's the tax point. So you see the 1697416?
Yeah.
You'd have to take that number, divide it by 169,074, and that gets you 10.04. And then the multiplier is the average assessed value per home. So 307,000, so it'd be 30.7, that's how you get 308. So I couldn't tie to his 296, so I wanted to speak to a number I could calculate.
And then if we go to cap, the number's 158, you say that's up to now what?
170. So if you take the amount above cap out, you're left with, and it's in the sheet, the 938,335.
Yeah.
And then if you divide that by 169,074, you get 5.5. Multiply that by 30.7, you get 170.
Good banker speak.
I tried.
You get much sleep, didn't you?
No.
That's where we're gonna get the help.
Any more questions from the council?
And we'll obviously get into more details. We can't discuss specific line items, so we'll be able to once we get into closed session. So So if you have a specific question, like line 38, page 10, we'll wait for that. But if you have generic questions.
All right, at this point, can I get a motion to open up to the public?
Second.
First by Councilman Garrett, second by Councilman Freeman. Is there anyone from the public that has a specific question to the budget? Hopefully we can answer it. We'll do our best.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mayor, I don't have a specific question for the budget since the budget's not available for the public, so may I ask a question that pertains to the budget? Okay. My questions are based on the best practices worksheet that was for calendar year 2012 that was completed on August 18th, 2011 and signed by one of the town officials. And even though these items don't sound like budget items, I fully expect that if there are any staff reductions, that these are seriously considered and that they're justified as items that you're keeping while people are getting laid off. Okay. First one. Does your municipality require its elected officials to attend basic courses on responsibilities and obligations in local government, i.e. budgeting, policy setting, local government contracting, risk management, and compliance with the Open Public Records Act? That was answered no. So I'd like to find out why staff aren't being trained.
This is in last year's...
This is the one for calendar year 2012 that was completed and signed on August 18, 2011. But it applies to calendar CY 2012. Okay. Next question. That one I just read, number 7. The next one's number 8. If your municipality assigns employees with vehicles that can be taken home after work hours, is there a written policy in place to prohibit personal use, and does that policy ensure that commuting miles are reflected in employees' W-2? That was answered no. I'd like to find out why not. Under financial standards, question number 2, is there a system of checks and balances over the purchasing and disbursement functions, including payroll, e.g. the same employee who prepares the checks also reconcile the bank account would not be a proper system of check and balances? The answer is yes. Alright. And also, next one, number 3, does your municipality have written procedures pertaining to cash receipts and cash disbursement, including but not limited to receiving, recording, preparing deposits for cash receipts, and processing, reviewing, and approving disbursements? That answer is yes. Now, there are some issues that were brought up in the 2010 audit. Since these were answered yes, when the 2011 audit becomes public, I don't expect any flagged items in these areas, right?
John, could you answer the governance and the personal use of vehicles question?
Well, the answers were no. We don't have policies for those people that take the vehicles home. The fact of the matter is that, you know, some of these things we are working on. The important thing here is we are not required to answer yes to every single question. We are, in order to comply and get 100% of state aid, we need to meet certain requirements with the best practices. We far exceeded those minimum requirements, and that's where we are.
Okay, may I continue? Okay. On budget preparation and presentation, number 2, did your municipality prepare a 5-year summary showing the amount of surplus anticipated and the percentage of budget that this represents? The answer was yes. My comment is really, because I don't see it on any of the budgets in the last few years. 5, was a budget history and projection showing 3 years of history prepared in a viewer's-friendly style for public use? The answer is yes. My comment is, really, I've not seen any projections in any of the budgets in the last 3 years. And the last one that I have, under personnel, question number 4. Does your municipality limit health benefits to full-time, 35 or more hours weekly, employees, and exclude from coverage all part-time employees, elected or appointed officials? The answer is no. Why not? Who benefits? I mean, if you want to keep it, then I feel it should be a pretty clear justification. I know that in River Edge last year, there was an official that wanted to sign up his family for benefits. That cost the town, Borough of River Edge, $20,000. When this became news, he quickly withdrew it. I mean, is that going to happen this year? Because I don't know which officials are signing up for this year. Right, but I do have information for prior years, and I don't intend to embarrass anyone, but I hope that this year that no one signs up to this. And as to Mr. Perkins' answer of, now there's no anticipation of answering yes to all the questions, well,
Oh,
if you had,
I didn't say that. I did not say that. But go ahead. I don't
Fine.
wanna-
Review the tape.
but if the anticipation was to have compliance within the year, wouldn't you answer prospective? Because there's a prospective answer that's allowed
No, what
in
we did.
the questionnaire.
We decided to answer yes or no. We were going to do perspective. We are looking into the additionals. Our main concern initially was to make sure that with the items that we could address to give us 100% compliance for this year's state aid, that we were going to comply with those. When we have time and that list is supposed to be updated this coming year, then we would look into some of the other avenues.
Okay, so Ms. Perkins, you said that there were no prospective answers on this survey.
No, I did not answer, that's not what I said. What I said was, we either said yes or no. I didn't answer prospectively. We are looking into some of those other avenues, some of those other questions that we answered no, to make a yes, but we haven't done it this year. We went into compliance, so we got 100% of our state aid, and that's what we were interested in.
Right, but how about the questions that were answered yes, but I had questions about?
Well, you had questions, but the issues with regards to the finance questions were addressed by our borough auditor, and those documents are available. You may not have seen them, but I will try and make them available to you, but the answers were yes. We are possibly going to be audited because the state BCA has decided they're going to order some towns, and my understanding is that we're in compliance with all those documents. If you haven't seen it, we'll see whether or not we can get it to you. I can talk to Terry about it.
All right, one thing about providing documents, I appreciate documents being provided to me, but that's not my purpose. My purpose is to make documents available to the public. I don't think it's right to make documents available to me, and then I have to make them available to everybody when the town, when Dumont should be putting it on their official website, because isn't that what you spend money for?
Then let me correct my statement. I'll make the information available. I'll let you know where it is.
Thank you. That's all the question I have.
I have one question for you. Would you mind sending me an email detailing the things you brought up so I can write as fast as you?
Okay, I'll make a
I'd like to address
photocopy.
each of those items,
Okay.
especially if the discussion does come to possible staff reductions. You do want to be sure that you've checked every line item, you've checked every penny that's available before you touch one person. And believe me, I will make sure that that happens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
I hope you just don't think that, our easiest way out is to cut people before going through this budget, because Mr. Chenef spent 3-4 days working on his budget, 14, 15 pages, whatever. But our first thing is we don't want to lay off people. We'll go through the line items first, and we'll see what we can cut.
But
And then when reality comes, then we'll have to wake up.
the numbers are challenging, you do agree?
That's why we're doing it. That's why we're on here. That's why the people in the Dumont voted for us, to get in here, to try and do the right job for the town.
Just get it done.
Excuse me?
Just get it done. That's all I have.
Mr. Chin, you know we're doing it every year, so let's not have a little battle back and forth.
Okay. Any other public comments?
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Absolutely.
Just for my own edification, Mr. Mayor, and it's probably to Councilman Freeman. Just a real quick explanation again. Basically,
Yeah,
we're underwater.
that would be a basic.
All right.
Good.
Now, I'm just saying basically
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
underwater.
Yeah.
Relative to what you had said before, an increase, to maintain stability, an increase in taxes would equal,
I mean, to maintain stability, then you'd basically say without, I would say basically getting to the cap. So that would be 170 per household.
all right, and in order to do that, we're still talking about a $700,000 reduction.
767, 499, correct.
All right. From your perspective, a $700,000 reduction obviously, because we're going into closed session, would have to mandate, some considerations to basically employment.
There's, as I think Ken said before,
Yeah.
there's various scenarios. We're hoping that's not one of the scenarios, but it has to be part of our
Yeah, we
discussion.
should discuss all options.
No, just wanted to get a, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim.
Sure.
Is there any more public comment or questions? Okay, at this point, can we close and go into, private?
So moved.
Second.
Close the public.